My Sister's House and Crossings TV brings you the first episode of Healthy Relationships, especially focusing on the Asian Pacific Islander community. Hosted by Daryl Wu and Gloria Ochoa, the purpose of this show is to raise awareness of domestic violence in the Sacramento and Central Valley area, as well as help individuals in our community recognize aspects of healthy and unhealthy relationships. Healthy Relationships shares private moments from domestic violence survivors in hopes to inspire those who need help but afraid to speak out.
Hello and welcome to the first episode of Healthy Relationships. We are launching this program with a goal of seeing healthy relationships in 2009 with a backdrop of remembering 2 violent deaths this month which touched our Asian Pacific Islander community. The purpose of this show is to help individuals in our community recognize aspects of healthy and unhealthy relationships and to raise the awareness of domestic violence in the Sacramento and Central Valley and resources to help prevent domestic violence. My name is Gloria Ochoa, President of My Sister's House.
And I'm Daryl Wu, Vice President of My Sister's House. We are part of My Sister's House, a Sacramento-based organization focused on serving the needs of Asian and Pacific Islander women and children impacted by domestic violence through a culturally appropriate and responsive safe haven and community services. Since we opened our 6-bed safe haven shelter in 2003, we have provided more than 9,000 bed nights of shelter to Asian and Pacific Islander women and children.
We have responded to over 1,900 calls to our 24-hour multilingual helpline. We have served more than 250 domestic violence survivors of all ethnicities in our award-winning Women to Work program.
We've made 100 presentations on domestic violence to local schools, businesses, organizations, and places of worship, and participated in more than 25 community fairs, educating more than 8,000 people about domestic violence. And we've hosted 5 annual conferences to train over 150 service providers from communities all across the Central Valley on cultural competency and working with battered immigrant women.
Today on Healthy Relationships, we will describe signs of both healthy and unhealthy relationships. We will show you how you can build a healthy relationship, and finally, describe the process of finding help if you or someone you love is in an unhealthy relationship.
Hi, I am Celine, and I am currently 22 years of age. I met my husband in the Philippines when he is having a vacation over there, and I met him in a restaurant where I work. He spent 3 weeks vacation over there.
And how long before you called yourselves a couple?
We've been engaged for 2 years before we get married.
How long after you met did you become engaged?
It's about the second time he come over, we finally engage. Finally engaged. When the second time he come back, first time he come back, that was April 2006, and then September 2000, the same year he came back. Okay. September.
And did you get married then?
No, not yet.
Oh, I see. And did you
Until I come over here, we get married.
I see.
And when did you start to see some signs that your relationship with him was not healthy?
I see the signs after 1 month. I come over here. April 18, and after 1 month, I see the signs of the abuse. He constantly putting me down, comparing me to those other girls, that they are higher level of educations, that they're more gorgeous and beautiful than me, always comparing me to the others, and kind of like have no respect towards me, throwing me bad words to me, disrespect.
Was responding to him made difficult because of your culture?
Oh yes, it is so hard for me because I cannot let my family know in the Philippines, because in my culture it's not the shame of my husband, it is my shame what's going on with my marriage. So it's hard for me to tell what's going on in my marriage because of my culture. I keep it in myself for how long as much as I can, until few months, 3 months, until even me and my husband already separated, I never let my family know what's going on. I still tell them I am okay. If my friends, nobody knows in the Philippines what's going on in me here.
But what kind of physical and emotional impact was this relationship having on you personally? How were you reacting to it?
It's losing my self-confidence that I used to have before when I was in the Philippines. I lose my self-confidence. It gives me phobia, fear, and depression. I was so depressed. And like almost, I think this is not a happy life, happy marriage that I want in my life. That I said, the
That's okay.
The ending of this suffering is just to kill myself. Because it's hard, no one knows. I can't tell my family, my friends back home. So I decided to take a pill because I don't know what else to do.
Okay, when we return, we are going to speak with Dr. Boyra Sharma of Kaiser Permanente about communicating in a healthy way, and then we are going to talk with our special guest about how she went about getting the help that she needed.
Dr. Sharma, so using the story of our first guest and others like her, what could a woman do to make sure that she's entering into a healthy relationship?
That's a really good question, because one of the things as I was listening to Celine is that she met her husband, and it seems like they started to get serious very quickly. So one of the things that's really important is for a person to take the time to figure out what are some things that are important to them. So they really need to know what are the values, what are the expectations that are important to them. That really helps a person build their blueprint or their foundation for a healthy relationship in the future. So those are some of the things to really be mindful of, and also to take some time to think about what are the deal breakers in the relationship. There might be certain things that you really want in a relationship, and a potential partner might not have those things. So if that occurs, then you know eventually the relationship won't go very far. But part of the other thing in terms of taking time is you want to get a sense of how this person responds to stress. A lot of times people say, well, in the beginning everything was great, we got along, but that's kind of the honeymoon period where everything goes great because you're just enamored with each other by the novelty of the relationship. But as time goes by, you really need to see how people deal with stress. Do they start acting abusive? One of the things she started saying was that his words started becoming negative. His comparison of her towards other people was just very demeaning to her, both just in terms of her sexuality, her appearance, her just sense of womanhood was slowly eroded by his comments. So possibly, you know, had she taken a little bit more time, those things might have evolved, and then she might not have felt so far in that she couldn't come out.
Sounds like that a couple really, really needs to communicate.
Yeah, communication is definitely important from the get-go. Again, that communication is really, really important, and part of that communication is making sure you both have a discussion about what it is that you want for your future, what it is that you want in terms of shared values, shared expectations. Also making sure that people and both people are committed to the success of the relationship by sharing responsibility about what's so important to them and what they are striving for together as a couple. And then additionally, there has to be some time where both partners esteem each other. They're excited about what different people want. And what they both want that's shared. That's an idea of something that's in common to work for. Also, they need to be able to tell each other like it is and be able to speak the truth when they need to. So esteeming one another, telling it like it is, it has to be safe for people to disagree. That's really important in terms of communication. Quality time, spending time together, doing things that are fun. Sometimes one person doesn't find everything the other person does is fun, but over time, hopefully it's a give and take. There's compromise. And accepting responsibility for your own happiness and committing yourself to be fostering that other person's happiness.
So, do you have recommendations how people or couples can communicate in a healthy manner?
Yeah, and that's a really good question too, because again, like I had said earlier, a lot of times people will be struggling with conflict, but not struggling when things are healthy. So one of the things that Celine had mentioned is that her partner, anytime he didn't want to hear what she wanted to say, he would be very dismissive of her. He would isolate her. I mean, he took her phone away at times, so she would be cut off from any source of support. But in terms of dealing with conflict in a healthy way, it's really important that sometimes when you're dealing with difficult things, to set up a time ahead of time, set up an appointment almost with your partner, and basically say, this is the time we're going to discuss issue A. And it's important that both people in this relationship stay calm. So that's part of the reason why setting up that time ahead of time is essential, so that people can both get their minds in the right place and their hearts in the right place. Then when they do come to the table, so to speak, about those issues, it's really important that they stick to the concerns. Don't bring up dirty history, dirty laundry, and throw it at each other. It's also important that both people be committed to respectful communication. So saying what you want, but also be willing to hear what the other person's going to say. Be open to hearing different perspectives. It's also important that you go into it with the idea that, maybe compromise is in order, and maybe the next time if you don't get your way this time, you'll get your way next time, and that's part of building a compromise. It's also really important to communicate specific requests. We have people who say, I've been with you so long, you should know what I want. Well, that's kind of gamey. We really need to get away from that. We really need to focus on what is it that you want. If you come to the table, what would actually be helpful in terms of your communication? How can we move forward? And then after you come to some agreement, it's also important that both parts of the couple are committed to checking in with each other. So last week we talked about X, Y, and Z. How's this working out for you? Do we need to revamp things? And again, if that commitment is there to the advancement of whatever the couple wishes to move on, that's really key. That'll be really important.
Well, you shared a lot with us today about healthy relationships. Is there anything last that you would like to share with our audience this evening?
I think one of the things that, in talking to Celine, is that it's really important that people realize how important it is that they remain safe and that they prioritize their safety. And that if you feel unsafe, or if you're in a home where you and your children are unsafe, it's really important to get safe. That may mean temporarily separating, just so you can get safe. It could mean a day, it could be an hour, it could be a few hours, just to give that break time in hopes that no other physical harm or other harm will come to you or the children in the home.
Welcome back, Celine. So, you recognized that there was a problem. What did you first recognize as a problem?
I noticed that there's a problem because my husband, I can feel that my husband have insecurities with me, but then he doesn't want to show he has insecurities in me. He is kind of like, he compared me to others, so I will be the one who will feel insecure. So because of that, he always keep me compare to the other girls. Always see the bad side of me, the lacking that I don't have, and then telling the girls that they have. They appreciate the other girls that they have, and telling me that I don't have it. And he kind of throwing bad words on me, just like swear words, stupid, dumb, like that. And then later on, he always left me at home.
So what is it finally, what were the things that were happening that finally made you seek help from outside?
Because the very recent happening is that because being submissive doesn't work that way. So later on, I tried to tell him, this is what you're doing to me. I want to show to him that, what he did to me, so that so he will recognize that it wasn't good. For example, he is like looking girls on the internet. It's like, I am a nurse, like I'm a nurse graduate, I'm a Filipina nurse graduate, like this, like that. And he kind of like showing to me, oh, look at this girl, like that. And it hurts my feeling, you know, when he showed, look at this girl, this is nurse graduate, like that. Probably that's a lot cheaper than sending you to school. So I never reacted, argued like that before. I just cried in secret. But later on, for 2 months, I tried to look in the internet too, and then he said, oh, what are you looking, hon? I said, oh, I'm just looking around here. And he saw the picture of a cops, and he was so mad at me, extremely mad, that he put his hand over me, and he said, see, you are looking for, you are looking for a man more than me. And I'm like, no, hon, I was doing so to you, that's what you do to me. So don't do that to me, because it hurts my feeling. Oh, so you know how to, you know how to be that way. So when someday you're not gonna need me. So I was trying to explain to him, but he doesn't want to listen. He doesn't want conversation. What he do is just throw me, when I try to have conversation, he want me to stop and throw me a remote control and put his hand over me. He was extremely mad.
What was he doing when you say throw his hand?
He threw a remote control over me to stop explaining to him, and he put his hand on my neck. But I always have my phone with me whenever he is totally angry, because I know I cannot trust him. I had a feeling I can't trust him. So I always have my phone over me. And then when he put his hand over me, I said, do that to me, don't hurt me. Otherwise, I will call 911. So finally, it made me call 911 because he always, every time we had argument, he turned off the computer, so I don't have the means to talk with my friends. So if I want to cry, just how are you? I did not say my problem, but I just need somebody that I can cry on. But he turned off the internet, no radios, and then only TV. But I'm not fan of TV, so. And he turned off also my cell phone connection. He do that when he's mad, and he turned it back on when we're okay. So later on, someday my husband gonna turn off the phone completely, and I cannot go anywhere. So I might do this 911. So I finally dialed 911, and then when the cops arrived in 15 minutes, they asked what's going on. I said, I want to go back home, and I don't have the means to go. I don't know what else to do. I don't have the money. I don't know transportation here. I just want to go home. Okay, so the cops give me a pamphlet that whenever you need a place to stay, I can call this number. So in that number, I dialed the number, and my sister's house answered the phone.
What advice would you give to someone who is in the similar circumstances as you? What advice would you give them?
My advice to those in married relationship that out here in the audience right now listening, if you notice that your marriage is not working good and there is abuse happening in it, and then you feel like nowhere to go, you can always there is always somebody who can help you, and that is my sister's house. Don't be afraid. If you are not happy, if you feel that you are being taken advantage, if you're feeling you are getting crazy, that no one will listen to you, you can always call My Sister's House because they are there to support emotional. That's not the way how women should be treated.
Thank you. Thank
you
you for
very
being
much.
so brave and sharing your story with all the victims out there and all the people so we can help build healthy relationships. Thank you.
So, sa mga kapwa ko Pilipino na kayo'y natatakot, parang feeling niyo kayo'y nag-iisa, walang walang makakaintindi sa inyo, wala kayong mapagsasabihan ng inyong nararamdaman. Huwag kayong matakot, ipaglaban niyo yan kung alam niyo na kayo ay nasa tama at kung may takot kayo, huwag kayong matakot dahil mayroong tutulong sa inyo at yun yung My Sister's House. Hindi kayo nag-iisa. Huwag kayong matakot. Kung kayo nasa tama, ipaglaban niyo iyan.
And now we would like to welcome our domestic violence advocate, Citra, who's going to talk to us about safety planning and the signs for being safe at home. Citra.
Thank you. Hi, this is Citra. A lot of the crisis calls I get is about safety planning as to safety planning before they leave the home. And usually the most dangerous time for a victim is when they leave the home. And therefore, we usually try and do some kind of planning ahead of time so that they have things in place before the time comes for them to just leave. Some of the things that we request is that try and get all your documents together, make copies of your documents. The most important documents could be your children's birth certificate, your birth certificate, marriage certificate, insurance, passport, any birth records, medical records, any important documents that you think would be needed to make sure you have some copies. If you can't take the original, make the copies and make sure the copies are kept in a different area, not at home, but maybe at a friend's place or someone you can trust. That's one thing that we usually encourage the callers that call the crisis line. The other thing is we always say if an incident occurs, always try and make sure there's a phone with you or close by. A home phone would be better. If you can't get a home phone, get to a cell phone. Make sure there's always a phone close by so that you can call 911 so the police can come immediately. The third thing, if you need to hide out because of things, the incident has occurred, make sure that the exit or a room that you go to has many ways to exit, and try to avoid the kitchen or the bathroom. So because the kitchen usually has knives and things like that, and you never know, the abuser may be upset and use any of those as weapons. So therefore, try and find a place where you can exit in different ways, big windows, back doors, front doors, and things like that. Always have extra keys, house keys, car keys, so that if at all you can't get to your keys, there's an extra pair hidden somewhere in the front flower pot, or maybe somewhere in the car, or there's some of the cars have those codes where you don't really need a key and you can have an extra key under the seat and something like that. Or we encourage them to have keys at a different location at a friend's place so that friends can come and help you to get the car and things like that. The other thing that's really important is always have code words, either to your kids or to your neighbors, so the neighbors are aware that something is going on and they could call the cops for you. For example, leave the light patio on, and then the neighbors will see the patio light on and will figure that must be make sure you inform the neighbor, and so they would know to call the cops at that time. The other code word is your kids. You could say, go to your neighbor's place and get some sugar. And maybe when they go over to their neighbor's house and the children says, Mom says we need some sugar, the lady or the neighbor would know, oh, there's something going on, and would try and get help. Mm-hmm. So these are some of the things that you could prepare yourself to, get whenever something's not safe at home, to prepare yourself so you can escape. There are other ways to do it, and it's good to call our crisis line at 428-3271, area code 916. Call us, and sometimes by talking to us, we would be able to come up with a safety plan for you personally as an individual, so that each person has a different way of trying to escape. So it would be good to give us a call and we can help you with your safety planning.